Hi, my name is Brad Emery, and today we're taking a look at Standard 2 and discussing ethics and professional norms. So I'm looking at component 2.3, and we're talking about modeling ethical practice. So the artifact I chose to include for this is serving as part of the student improvement team at the school that I work on. And the reason I chose this as a model for ethical practice is because in order to function as part of this team, I worked and collaborated with many other teachers and our school counselor and school psychologist, as well as our administrator. And what we found in this group is that to be truly ethical and to make sure that we're modeling those practices for one another and for the student body and more specifically for the other teachers, we needed to learn that the SIT team or the student improvement team is not a fast track to special ed. And so that's something that was a common misconception that came up a lot. It wasn't from any bad teachers. It was just that teachers didn't fully understand the purpose of the improvement team was to put scaffolding in place and create a way for students to achieve at the same level as their peers while providing them with the supports that they needed before we slowly pull those back away and let them function in the normal classroom. And of course, there are different levels of tiers and different levels of support for different students. But it was remarkably common how many teachers came in and just saw this as one step before they needed to go to special ed. And so we would have teachers coming in and saying, well, I have this student and I'm needing some help with them, and really we need to get them tested for special ed. And so we would have to explain, well, before we get to the testing, we want to make sure that we're addressing all possible options and we're not putting kids in special ed that don't need to be there. And then the opposite side of that scale is you don't want to let a kid sit too long in the student improvement team when they need to be in special ed and they need those extra services. So that was always kind of the challenge, to balance out that scale and make sure that we were putting kids in front of the special ed team and our school psychologists that needed those services without rushing kids through who didn't. So that was a great experience for me to just have a really practical application of what ethics looks like and what ethical practice looks like at a grade school level, as far as working with my colleagues and working alongside our school psych and counselor and administrator to make sure that we're working for the students' best interests and we are those advocates, and then balancing out those scales of what does that look like on an educator level and how do we communicate that well to our colleagues. So once again, I chose this to cover my component 2.3. So my artifact is serving as part of the student improvement team to model that ethical practice.